A very good evening, everyone at Tushita and online. So welcome to this meditation session. Today we are doing the actually 14th of the 16 guidelines for a happy life. This is a series of meditations that is totally secular, as in non-religious. It is based on a text by a king of Tibet in the 7th century, for people to, adopt values and inner qualities, because back then in Tibet, people were very barbaric. I would say it was like a warlike nation, and so the text that was composed by this king, with these 16 principles, 16 guidelines, really helped, to transform Tibet into a civilized and peaceful nation. As we know, the Tibetans today are very kind and loving and quiet. So that text really helped. That text was religious, though. It was based on Buddhist principles. But the foundation for the development of compassion and wisdom, which is our secular branch, they extracted the inner qualities by removing completely all religious dogma. So it is purely its qualities that we already have and that we can, develop and increase in ourselves. So today the quality that we will explore is our principles. We've been exploring for the last 3 months, we've been exploring qualities like respect, loyalty, gratefulness, and so forth. And today is principles. So the way these sessions are happening is that we first do a short, hello, good evening, hello. We first do a short settling meditation, a short placement meditation, so that we arrive here in the space on the cushion. We'll do that for about 5 minutes, and then, okay, you can place them here. So for about 5 minutes, we'll do a placement settling meditation to arrive in the space. And then after that, I will introduce the topic of the day, which is principles. And we can discuss actually among ourselves what are our thoughts about principles and our experience with our principles. So we can share for a few minutes, and then we'll do an actual analytical meditation on the topic for about 15-20 minutes. We'll guide you through different stages so we can, analyze the topic in meditation. And then we again have a few minutes at the end to exchange among ourselves. Especially we are looking for feedback, how this meditation impacted you, if it impacted you at all. And also because this is actually a pilot series of meditations, we are looking for feedback on the format and the content of these meditations. So any feedback is very welcome at the end. So before we start looking at today's topic, let us take a moment to arrive here in this space, in this meditation hall. And for those who are joining us online, to arrive in front of your devices at home. So the best is to sit on the floor, but if you're sitting on a chair, it's also fine. The ideal is on the floor. If you're sitting on the chair, just make sure you're not leaning against the support of the chair and not leaning forward either. If you're sitting on the floor, the ideal best is to sit in the full lotus posture. So you have both of your feet on top of the opposite leg. That might be a little bit challenging, so make sure you're not forcing your body. Make sure you're comfortable, that's most important. Simply sitting cross-legged is fine, or in a half lotus, or you can even sit Burmese style with one leg in front of the other. Anything is fine as long as you're comfortable, as long as you can keep that posture for a while. And feel free to move if you're uncomfortable. Don't push yourself. You can place your hands, traditionally we would put them in the concentration mudra, meaning right hand on top of the left, The two thumbs are slightly touching, and this mudra rests on our lap. But feel free to sit however feels comfortable. You can simply put your hands on your knees, on your lap, palms up or down. Doesn't really matter for this meditation. So the back is straight, but naturally straight, not stiff. You can imagine there is like a string pulling from the crown of your head, keeping your body upright. But at the same time, you're relaxed. You can easily, move your body from left to right like this. The body remains flexible. The shoulders are even and relaxed. The neck is aligned in the continuation of the spine. And you can very gently, very lightly tilt your head forward, but not too much. Because if you're facing upwards, this might bring a lot of distraction, a lot of thoughts will arise. And if it's too much down, then you might fall asleep. So trying to find a middle way, little slightly tilted forward. You can place your tongue just behind your upper teeth towards the upper palate. This helps reduce the production of saliva while you meditate. Finally, we don't meditate with the eyes completely closed. We leave them slightly opened, just gazing in the space in front of us, about 45 degrees cast down, but not actually paying attention to whatever appears to our eyes. It is the mental consciousness that meditates. So not closing the eyes completely allows for some light to enter, keeping us alert. So out of these 7 points that are known as the Buddha Vairochana posture, if you have to keep one in mind, one that is most important is for the body to be upright, for the back to be straight. So then what are we meditating on? What is our object of meditation? So if you're familiar with shamatha meditation, shamatha is Sanskrit for calm abiding. In Tibetan it is called shine. So the idea of this meditation is that we are trying to develop our concentration. We are trying to concentrate on an object without being distracted. So any mental object actually works. So if you're familiar with shamatha, with a specific object, I will invite you to use that object for your meditation. And if this is new for you, what I would recommend is to take the breathing sensation at the entrance of the nostrils. Try to place all your attention there and see when you breathe in, when you breathe out, what sensation happens at the entrance of the nostrils. Perhaps you will observe as you breathe in, there is a little cooling sensation at the entrance of the nostrils, and as you breathe out, you might observe it's a little bit warmer. So try to observe that feeling, that sensation, with all your attention. But breathe naturally. Don't try to control your breath. Just observe, passively observing the sensation. And also don't create a mental chatter about it. Just observe without making a commentary in your head, If you feel it's a little bit cool, if it's a little bit warmer when you when you exhale, don't make comments in your head, just observe, just look at it. So we have looked at the posture, at the meditation object. Now let us look at the distractions that might arise during meditation. The most common ways we get distracted is with mental excitement and mental laxity. Mental excitement, it is basically being distracted with thoughts. For example, we think about the past, about the future. For example, we might start thinking, what am I going to have for dinner tonight? or remember something that happened during the day today. And so therefore, when we think about that, we are not focused on our object of meditation. We lose our object of meditation. The second way we tend to get distracted is with mental laxity, also called mental dullness or lethargy. Basically, we don't put enough application in our meditation, in our concentration, and therefore the mind starts to sink. We tend to fall asleep, and therefore we also lose our object of meditation. We start daydreaming, for example. So finally, the last instruction for this meditation is that there are two antidotes that we need to use to counteract these distractions. And the two antidotes are called introspection and mindfulness. Introspection is basically a mental factor. It is like a mental agent in the background of your main mind that is looking, what is my mind doing? Is it meditating? Is it focused on my object of meditation? Or is it distracted with thoughts or with laxity? And the moment introspection notices that the mind is not focused on the object of meditation, we make use of mindfulness. The role of mindfulness is to bring the mind back, wherever it is, back onto the object of meditation, and making sure it remains there on the object of meditation. An analogy that I always use is that you can imagine if you had a pet dog at home and the dog runs away from home. Introspection will notice that the dog is gone, and mindfulness brings the dog back home, and you can also imagine tying him against a pillar so that the dog remains at home. It's a little bit similar to what we are trying to do with our mind, trying to remain focused on our object of concentration. Let us try this meditation for about 5 minutes, trying to remain as much as possible on the object. And every time you notice that your mind has lost the object of meditation, make the effort to bring it back every time. Even if it happens 200 times in 5 minutes, try to do it 200 times. We are trying to get rid of bad habits of distraction, gradually, slowly, to cultivate these good habits, to be able to concentrate for a long time on an object. Let us try for 5 minutes. can gently come out of the meditation. How was the meditation? Did you manage to concentrate single-pointedly without being distracted? Were you able to notice when your mind was distracted and bring it back? Yes? Okay, so let me introduce the topic of today, the inner quality that we will meditate on a bit later. First, we'll discuss among ourselves. Let us just introduce the topic first. I'll just read from the 16 guidelines for a happy life. It says, let me zoom in a little bit. If we were each given a blank sheet of paper, how many of us would be able to list the principles that guide our lives? Day-to-day living makes so many demands that sometimes it feels more than enough just to react as best as we can to whatever happens, hoping it will all turn out okay. Yet most of us have plenty of principles, even if we are not aware of them. What is it that angers us or gets the fire churning in our gut? Getting upset is often the sign that a principle we hold strongly has been breached. It touches on something that says no. We might be surprised by the passion and strength that is alive in us. Principles are fundamental beliefs and values that serve as the foundation for our actions, decisions, and behavior. They are the unwavering guideposts that shape our character and determine how we navigate life's challenges and opportunities. Whether consciously acknowledged or operating in the background, principles are ever present, influencing our choices and reflecting the essence of who we are. Principles give us strength. They provide the foundations from which we get the power and energy to make a stand about the things that matter to us. They keep our aspirations on track. Like the spokes of a bicycle wheel, they give stability and help us move forward in a purposeful way. The function of principles is to be our inner compass, a touchstone for who we are and what we want to do with our lives. Our principles make us unique. It is a risky business to ignore them. We may give away our peace of mind if we don't keep to a principle. Principles can prevent us from being a victim in some circumstances. They act as a bridge between the quiet times when we listen to what we feel inside and the busy times when there is no time to think before we speak or act. Discipline and habit can help us stay on track. Following what we value is a relief. So what are our principles? And how did you learn your principles? Are principles always positive? And what is the link between principles and happiness? Maybe also read how the 16 guidelines define principles. Like they give a more precise definition that might help us discuss about it before we do the meditation. So it says, Principles, they define principles as the ability to develop sincere and stable inner values and to avoid harmful influences. Our principles are the inner compass that guides what kind of person we are and how we choose to think, speak, and act. For example, some people have positive ethical principles, such as always telling the truth, treating others fairly, or, many people have also ecological principle, not consuming too much of something, not flying too much, and so on and so forth. Many people have different principles. So let us take a few minutes to share thoughts before we do the actual meditation. What is our experience with principles? What are our principles? And how do we understand principles? And how did you learn them? Did some things in your life happen that you adopted those principles, or did you always have them, or did your parents teach them? And are principles always positive, or can they be negative also? And how do these principles make us happy or unhappy? Any thoughts, please share. So here, of course, at Tushita, just speak up. And online, you can just unmute yourselves on Zoom, and then we will hear you here. Anyone? What are your principles?
I think whatever our parents said was good.
Would you just mind speaking in the microphone? Maybe we can pass it around so people online can also hear you. Yeah. Thank you.
I think whatever our parents said was good or bad kind of became first a restriction at times, perhaps, then a habit, and then a lifelong principle. So, yeah. And then when you grow up, you kind of rediscover life, and your principles might change or might have a different color to it.
And are there like fundamental principles that you have personally that you can identify easily?
So, yeah, like I'm very particular, like, it's not that I've never been dishonest, but I do prefer honesty. And I think that's a very core principle to me. So if there is dishonesty, it kind of bothers me.
Puts you off.
In both myself and in others. Yeah.
Good. Anyone else? Yes.
Go.
What's your name, by the way?
I'm Clark.
Huh?
Clark.
Clark,
yeah. Like Lewis and Clark.
Okay.
Yeah. What you said about kind of living very reflexively and maybe losing track of principles resonated with me a lot. Because I guess like I came to Delhi to work in like environmental things, but I think the principles behind that get lost very quickly. And I found myself living, very reflexively, very focused on like the immediate, and kind of knocked about by all the things that come up. So it is surprisingly difficult to tap back in and find like what are the principles that I actually do live by, and what do I just kind of like say I live by in my mind. So, yeah, I appreciate that.
Anybody else would like to share something? Would like to say something? Principles you have, and how did you learn them? And our principles always positive? Can they be negative also? Do they make us happy or unhappy? I think online somebody wanted to share. So just press the audio button to unmute, your microphone, and we will hear you. Yes, Divyaji.
Yes, I have 5 principles in my life,
Only
and
5?
5 years. Actually, I do Reiki. I do Reiki.
Not 6.
Reiki. Have you heard of
Sorry.
Reiki?
Yes, of course. Yes.
So there are 5 principles. Just for today, I will live in attitude of gratitude. Just for today, I will not fear or worry. Just for today, I will do my work honestly. And just for today, I will respect all living beings.
Very good.
So these are the principles. This I say every day, and I follow them.
Very good.
Thank you.
Anybody else who would like to say something? I'll quickly summarize for Pierre who just joined. So today, oh, okay, you're on Zoom. Okay, good. Perfect. Then I don't need to repeat. so Pierre came late and he just said, my principle is normally to be on time. Very good. Okay. Okay, so we can now do the guided meditation, analytical meditation for about 15-20 minutes. Let's see how much time we take. And then we have more time to interact and to exchange among ourselves, and especially we are looking for feedback, what impact, if any, this meditation had on you. So let us do it. Let us spend a little time exploring principles. So again, you can rest your hands on your knees or in your lap, palms up or down, up to you, whichever is more comfortable, whichever feels natural. The back should be naturally upright, not stiff. The arms and shoulders relaxed. Drop your chin slightly forward so that the neck stretches a little bit and it relaxes. Gaze gently downwards in a way that avoids visual distractions. Or if you prefer, you can lightly close your eyes. Don't close them completely. And now that you are comfortably seated, turn your attention to the breath as it enters and leaves the body. Let us start by taking 3 long, slow breaths, allowing the air to enter deeply so that the stomach rises and falls with each breath. And now let us analyze what are principles and what is the reason for having them. Do we know what our principles are? Does being guided by our principles make us dull and predictable, or more dynamic and effective? If our principles are important to us, how can we pay more attention to them and bring them into daily life? For example, if one of our principles is honesty, how can we be more mindful in our daily life to be honest? Can principles help us to find happiness? So as I was just saying earlier, the 16 guidelines for a happy life define principles as the ability to develop sincere and stable values, inner values, and to avoid harmful influences. Our principles are the inner compass that guides what kind of person we are and how we choose to think, speak, and act. Positive ethical principles, such as telling the truth, or treating others fairly, or not consuming more of the planet's resources than necessary, can have a powerful effect both on our lives and the lives of the people around us. There is something very reassuring about people of integrity whose outward behavior is aligned with their inner values. And principles are more than just personal. When a group of people with shared ethical principles come together, they can be a powerful force for the good. Can you think of a group or an organization that you admire for its principles? It might be a group that you know personally, such as a local hospice, environmental campaign, or it might be a global organization. Identify just one group or organization, local or global, that you particularly find inspiring. Could be an association, a non-governmental organization, any group that inspires you for its values and principles. What guiding principles do you associate with this group or organization? Are these principles important for the success of this organization? And do you, at a personal level, share any of these principles? And if so, which ones? Whether we admit it or not, most of us know when we have ignored our own principles. There is a feeling of discomfort, disconnect, and lack of integrity, which is often highly visible to others. Sadly, the world is full of stories of people who failed to live up to their principles, or whose principles were nothing more than to advance their own self-interest, whatever the cost of the planet and the beings who live on it. All around us, we see the effect of individuals behaving in such a way and the suffering and havoc it brings. So if we want to help bring about a better world, the best place is to start at the individual level within ourselves. How can we develop sincere and stable inner values and avoid harmful influences? The 16 guidelines propose a very practical approach to the subject of principles by suggesting that we can test everything we think, everything we say, and everything we do against 3 simple questions. Number 1, does this harm anyone? Number 2, does this help anyone? And finally, number 3, does this support my own positive growth and development? The more we can apply these 3 baseline principles to whatever we think, say, and do, the more that everyone benefits, both ourselves and the people around us. All the other values we hold can then be grounded in these 3 baseline principles of not harming others, helping others whenever we can, and paying attention to our own positive growth and development. Let us take a few minutes to explore whether these 3 baseline principles can be helpful in our own daily life. Let us pause for a moment and reconnect with the sensation of the stomach rising and falling with the movement of the breath. And now let us bring the mind. Let us remember a decision that we made recently. Try to bring to mind a decision that you remember taking or making in the recent past. In the last few days or weeks or months, did you make a decision? Perhaps it was a decision about your personal life, or whether to start or deepen a friendship or a relationship, or about to spend time in some way, or about a holiday, travel. Perhaps that decision was related to your work or occupation, whether to learn a new skill or to apply for a job or to volunteer somewhere. Big or small, important or trivial, most of us make thousands of decisions every day about how we spend our resources, our energy, and our time. For this exercise, choose a recent decision to think, act, or speak in a particular way that held some significance for you. Can you think of a recent decision that you have made? Once you have identified this decision, bring to mind the circumstances around the decision. Were there any other people involved? Was it easy or difficult to make this decision? What dilemmas did it raise for you? How did you actually make the decision? Did this decision harm anyone? Did this decision help anyone? Did this decision support your own positive growth and development? Now let go of this decision and try to think forward in the near future. Think forward to a decision to think, act, or speak in a particular way that is coming up for you in the future. If possible, identify a significant decision that carries some power and meaning. It could be a choice that is facing you and your relationships and personal life, or it might be related to your work. Is there something specific you can bring to mind? Some important decision that you need to make? If nothing clear comes up, then simply imagine a significant decision that might arise for you at some point in the future. A decision that you will eventually have to make. When you have identified a significant decision that is coming up for you, let us consider what dilemmas does it raise. Who will be affected by this decision? If it involves others, how will you take their interests and feelings into account? Now, let us consider whether these three baseline principles can help you make this upcoming decision. Will this decision harm anyone? Will it help anyone? Will this action support my own positive growth and development? If these three principles don't resonate for you, are there any others that would be helpful? It makes sense that aligning the decisions we make with the principles we hold in our heart will enable us to move forward in a clear and purposeful way. We can be at peace with ourselves. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, "Day by day, what we choose, what we think, and what we do is who we become." May the practice of principles enrich your life and the lives of those around you. Gently come out of the meditation. So now I'm very interested to hear from you. What arose from the meditation? Anything you would like to say? Anything you would like to share? So again, on Zoom, you can simply press the unmute button, and here at Tushita, just speak your mind. There are no good or wrong answers. It's just feedback. To know if you were able to do the meditation and if you could think, of decisions that you took or that you need to take, and if thinking in that way helps or not. I see online people are turning their cameras on, so I guess you want to speak, right? Please go ahead.
It's that
Mr.
I'm
Mac,
just feeling calm. I'm
feeling
feeling
calm.
calm.
ट्राई करूँ सामने की
Mr. Mathur? You are muted now, Mr. Mathur. Okay.
You mentioned about, does it help someone? Does it harm someone? Most decisions with administrators will do a bit of both. It's very rare that you find very clear-cut decisions coming out, easy decisions. So, I mean, that the thought which came up in during the, let's say, the thinking on what you were saying. So, and you begin to think that it's rare. It's rare that you find then it's not even a need for a decision. You're, if you're only going to harm someone and not help anyone, then where is the decision required? Then of course you're going. You have a different principle. So that there's a little. Most of these, most principles, when you examine them, you find it's very difficult to apply them unilaterally. Because you think that if it's so clear cut, then everybody would be doing it, and there's no conflict. Okay.
Could everybody hear? Yeah, you could hear what he said? What are your thoughts on that?
I can respond.
Yes. Thanks.
So that is a good point. But at least for me, what came up is that there's a decision that I have to make in the future is very emotionally charged. And so when thinking about it in the past, it's just been kind of a tangle of thoughts. So having these three questions to kind of sit with helped me clarify like what the actual consequences are. And I guess the more important consequences as opposed to everything kind of coming up all at once. So at least sitting through this meditation can help me filter through and think about it. So you're right, it is not very clear cut, even so, but at least for me, it did help to kind of clarify my thinking.
Anybody else? Pierre?
Oh, yeah. So
just a remark about there is a lot of questions that are not a clear cut, that you may harm people and help other people, and after you have the questions as how you choose what you are going to do. So it's not that easy, but during the meditation, what comes up is that you can have, when you have this dilemma, you can have the brains to go in one directions and try to think to another questions that make it even more complex. Or you can try to go and to bring your brains, following the principle, to a direction that simplify, make it more simple. And after you realize that if the main question, the first one, you cannot answer, is that you are going to, you cannot answer just yes or no. You have more simple questions that you can answer yes or no. And that will help you to take the decisions for the more complicated problem. I think it's really good approach, but you really have to try to guide your mind to cut down the problem, to simplify through following these questions, and it really helps to take a decision.
Anybody else? You can say anything. Were you able to meditate? Can you share the microphone? Can you take the microphone?
I was able to meditate, but I slept in between.
Okay.
Yeah.
And while sleeping, were you thinking about your decisions or not?
No.
No?
So I missed some
Okay.
of your talks.
You had a busy day?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Maybe we should do these meditations in the morning when we are fresh.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm feeling better right now.
Because you had a
Little
nap.
bit. Yeah. So,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. You want to say something? No? Thank you. Anybody else online or here? You want to share something? No? No? Okay. So, yeah, we've had 14 of these meditations in the past few months, and there are 2 more. But next 2 weeks before our summer break, we have visiting teachers here. We have a monk from Germany and a nun from the US who are going to come and teach here. So we won't have more of these meditations until January. So for those who joined most of the sessions, and you can always find them, the 14 sessions that we have done in the past few months, you can find them on our YouTube channel if you want to revisit them or just hear about them. And also the Foundation for the Development of Compassion and Wisdom has a website where you can learn more about them. There is a free book that you can download, and you can read about all these 16 inner values. If you type 16 guidelines on Google, you will easily land on the website of the FDCW, Foundation for the Development of Compassion and Wisdom. So until then, until the 15th session, let's see when we will do it in Jan or Feb, let us try to think of ways that we can bring principles into our daily lives throughout the coming 2 months. And the 15th meditation next year will be on service. So for now, let us conclude this session with dedicating the positive energy that we have accumulated here and our increased understanding from this session. Let us dedicate all this energy and understanding to those who are ill, be it mentally or physically, for them to have a good health. Let us dedicate to those who are hungry or thirsty, to have food and drink. To those who are being harmed by violence, war, or conflict, for them to be at peace. To those who don't have a home, to be safe, and in the coming winter to be warm. If they live here in Delhi, it can be quite cold. So may they find a safe and warm place, and a place that is also cooled down for the next summer. For those who are challenged with loneliness, disharmony, or financial pressures, for them to end their worries and increase their happiness. And let us think how wonderful it would be if everyone in this room, everyone in Zoom, on Zoom, everyone in Delhi, everyone in the country, and everyone in the world were to reach their potential. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. And yeah, before we break for winter, mid-December, we have quite a few special events happening here. It starts this Saturday. We have a German monk who is coming and he's going to stay here for a bit more than 2 weeks. And on Saturday, he will teach on the meaning of life. There will be 2 sessions. The first one is Saturday at 5 p.m., both in person and online, same place and same Zoom link. 5 p.m. this Saturday, the first session, and the second session on Monday at 6:30 p.m. The meaning, what is the meaning of life? Let me think, what do we have? I don't know the calendar by heart. But then I know that next Saturday, then he will teach on what comes beyond this life. What happens when we pass away? What happens after we pass away? So this will also be in 2 sessions. The first one next Saturday. So that's, I think, maybe the 6th or the 7th of December, that Saturday. And then again, the next Monday, the second session about death and dying. Again on the Monday at 6:30 p.m. Oh yes, and Tuesday we have the American nun, Venerable Amy Miller. She came here very recently to talk about death and dying, and on Tuesday, so that's the 3rd of December, in 1 week from now, she again at 6:30 p.m., online, in person, both. She will teach on mindful self-compassion in difficult times. Again, 6:30 p.m. Until about 8 p.m. or a bit more, especially if we have questions for her, then we can make her talk more. Okay, so very welcome for all these sessions. And yeah, whatever doesn't come to mind right now, you can find on our website, tushitadelhi.com. If you click on event calendar, then you can see in a month view whatever events are happening here. Of course, we have every morning, Monday to Friday at 9 a.m. we have an online guided meditation for half an hour. So this is a good way to start the day. And yeah, if you cannot join those sessions, they are also recorded. So everything is uploaded every day on our YouTube channel. So you can listen to these meditations at any time in the day, whatever is convenient for you. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone online. And
Thank you.
thank you. Hopefully see you in person soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.